longer any,
Hello, Jeff.
um,
Welcome to the
we
native
can no
language
longer use that
course,
fuel. Some of
LNCAO,
the
and we
things
are
we use for
starting
energy
with review
are
on
very
the
dangerous to the environment.
communications
They've
project.
caused pollution, global warming, the
So
greenhouse
on
gases
the
we produce, for example, other toxins. And so renewable resources
review
are a way that
on
perhaps we can
planning draft.
um, help to make
So
healthier choices for our ecosystems,
members,
make them more
elders, you have
sustainable.
selected for the
Okay, so we're going
interview.
to start here in the
Place and
booklet,
time and date of
and
the
we're going to go
interview, the
to
topics,
our
questions
learning
of the interview,
expectations here
purpose of the
for lesson
interview, make
20. It
calls or
says
go see
students
the
will be able
elder
to
member in
identify and
person.
describe several natural resources in
Select
Canada,
the gift of
describe common
appreciation,
methods for
communicate
resource
in
exploitation
the
in
native
Canada,
language as best as you
describe
can.
environmental issues with each method,
So
and identify and
on key
describe the
question
challenges in
45,
resource management in
preparing,
Canada. So you
make
see, we're
extra
heavy
copies to
into
do the rough
resource
draft and send
management.
them in for
We
marking.
actually have
So question
three
number one,
different
or
lessons
number one,
in lesson 20.
the two elders
They're
or members you have
all
selected for
the
interview.
questions for lesson
So
20
write
are
them
listed there below on page
the
14
blank
and 15,
lines.
and you'll
Number
see there's three
two,
different sets of them.
place, time,
So
and
there's
date.
three different sections of the
And
textbook that
number
we will be
three,
going to talk about
the
lesson
topics,
20.
questions of the interview.
And we're going to go over and
So
do
you
that
could
right
use what you
now.
have learned in
Let's
the
start by
units.
introducing the unit. It's
And number four,
chapter 7 in the
purpose of
textbook,
the
not the unit, sorry,
interview.
the lesson.
Why did you do
Chapter
the
7
interview?
in the textbook is using natural
And the purpose,
resources.
number five, did you contact the person that you're
And we're
going
going to do that
interview?
with sustainable
number
practices.
six,
Always sustainable, right? We want our future ecosystems to be
the
healthy.
availability and
Okay.
willingness of the person.
The
Number
right
seven,
to
a small
water. You'll
gift
see
to
somebody
select a
there
small
holding their
gift.
hands under a water tap
So
there.
write
And then in the
about
next
what
picture, you see
you
there's a
got.
lock on it.
Number
So
eight,
water
communicate
is
in the native
probably
language.
one of Canada's
So
most
with your,
important
maybe
natural
you could
resources.
jot down some words.
And there's a
If you
lot of
need more
talk
space,
about the right to clean water right now.
write it
The United Nations
and
have argued that
send
access
this
to
in for
clean water
marking.
should be a human right.
So example
They estimate that each person on
of the
Earth
interview.
needs
The
an
title,
estimated 20 to 50 liters
it
of
can
water
be
a day to
interviewing
meet
an
their
elder
basic
using
needs.
native
Yet
language
over, in this case, it was
vocabulary.
1.1 billion people lack access to an
And
adequate
the
supply
place,
of
time, and
water.
date.
So
So in
why
the
is
line,
that,
you
you
can
might
write the
ask,
date
if we have all
in
this water
green.
on the planet? So Earth's under threat from human-made pollution and
And
large corporations
I
that
just put an
buy up the
example
water.
there, October
So we've
20,
talked a lot about
2025.
producing electricity, mining,
So
all
write
these
the
different
month
ways
in
that we
green and
we need water,
the
and we know
number.
that water is important. Hydroelectric dams,
So
all of these
before
different
doing
things,
the
and water is so
interview,
important.
show the recording
And we know
device,
that
show what you
you
are
have to be
using,
careful
what kind
about
of
where you
device.
get the water from.
So place it on
And if you
something
are
so
using
that
it
it can
and it gets hot,
hear both of you and the
or it
person
has
being
toxins or
interviewed.
anything like that, and it after use, it has to be
So
cleaned
the
before it
first
can be
thing,
returned
introductions for the
to
interview.
the
And
before
here are
you can
some
return it to
examples. Number
the
one, Noche Danis in
source,
Sastrian.
the river, the
And
pond,
that
the
means
lake where
hello,
you
what
got
is
it.
your name? So number two, the
Okay, so
reply.
that's a little
Three, you would say
opener
Rachel Ninan
to one of the most important natural
My name is
resources we
Rachel.
have, and that is water.
And
Okay,
so
we're
on.
going to
So
go
number
over,
four, write
we're on
down your
page
question, what you have
171
selected,
of the
then write
textbook, section
in Roman and
7.1,
English.
Canada's natural resources. Okay,
Label
so
all
it
your
says
work,
here,
send
I
it to
love
the
the textbook
teacher.
in that it
So you
has
would
always some
label it
really good
LNCAO,
definitions. It said a
grade
natural
9 native
resource
language.
is a source of wealth that occurs naturally and has economic
And
value.
when you are
I
done
suppose if it's a source of wealth, it does have
your
economic
interview,
value. Um,
you send in key question
so
46.
we have lots
Write
of
out the
different natural
questions and
resources that we just talked
responses.
about, and
Write
we're going to
it
go
in
through those
Roman,
natural resources
English,
in this
Roman,
section here. We're going to
and
just talk about what all
syllabics.
Canada's some of Canada's natural resources.
And
So we're going to start by looking at the renewable natural resources in Canada.
the
And
last
we
one,
know it
rate
can
how
only
the
be
interview
renewable
went.
if we
Make
can
comments about the
replace it.
interview. Did you
Okay,
cover all
so
areas?
number
Do you
one,
have any, did you
Canadian
have any
fisheries. We've
difficulties?
talked a bit about
And
fisheries
just
in
write
the
about
course.
how the
We've talked a
interview
little
went.
bit about
Was it interesting?
aquaculture, which is
How
where
was the language?
fisheries
Did you pick
grow
up some
fish.
words? Did
Um,
you
I don't know
understand
that
the
we've really
native
talked
language words?
about what they do with it. Um, it says Canada's coastline is
We will
29,000
do a
kilometers long.
review
It has lakes and
on
rivers that contain more than half
the
of the
rating
world's
system.
fresh water. Okay, so we are rich in fresh water in
So
Canada.
I said
Also, we have fishing grounds, places where fish
the rating
grow.
system.
And so two of
Good.
those are off
The
the
first
coast
one,
of
if
Canada,
those are language
eastern side of
charts, three
Canada,
language charts, the
over in the
basic
Atlantic. Okay.
characters,
Um, and so we
and
export
Roman writing
fish.
and
We
syllabics.
catch fish in our what we consider our territorial
The
grounds,
in
and
Roman
we send
orthography, we
it to
use
other
some
places in
letters
the
from the
world.
English writing system.
Um, so an exporter
So
is somebody who
you will
sells
notice
their
that
product to other
not all
countries, and we
letters from the
export
English
fish.
alphabet
So we catch fish
are
from
in our
oceans,
writing
rivers,
system.
lakes, but we also have fish
We will
farms.
we will
And
learn the
these are
differences,
places where they have
or we have learned some
big ponds.
differences
They're
when we use
controlled.
the
They control
charts.
the temperature, the food supply, and all of that
When we
type of
use
thing. And they
letters or
grow fish.
combination of letters in the
Um,
language,
there are over
so they represent the same
640
sound or
aquaculture businesses.
combination of sounds.
Aquaculture is a fish farm,
Each letter
and they
corresponds to
raise
a certain
everything
sound
um,
and is
from
only used to
salmon,
represent that
trout,
sound,
mussels,
which are
oysters.
divided
Okay,
into
so
two
all sorts
basic
of different
types,
things. I know there's more
vowels
than
and
those.
consonants.
Those are the ones kind of mentioned in this reading.
Syllabic
Um,
language
and in
charts.
table 7.1, they show the top
The language
exported
charts,
fish.
so they are like I said,
Lobster
are
leads
divided
the
into
pack by
three
quite a
sections.
bit.
Basic,
Um,
long,
there,
and different consonant sounds.
44,000 tons of lobster were exported.
The
Snow and
following
queen
charts
crab.
gives
The
the
next one
order
on the
of
list,
syllabic
salmon,
characters,
Atlantic
each
salmon,
row, across each
shrimp,
row,
and
and then
herring.
down
Okay, those would
to the
all
next
be
row.
in the ocean.
Syllabic spelling in syllabic spelling
You
order.
can also get
The vowels are
fish
divided into
such
two
as
types,
in our neck of the woods,
long
right? You
and
have
short vowels.
pickerel, and
The
we can
long
get these from
vowels
Aboriginal
take longer
fisheries in
to
the area.
say,
Not
like
so
the
much
sound
fisheries, but
is longer.
Aboriginal businesses that go
And
out
the
and
short
catch the fish, and then package it
short
up and sell it.
vowel
There's also Aboriginal fisheries. We also have
or
recreational
shorter to
fishers
say
that
sound.
just
There
catch
is
all sorts of
a
different
long
fish, right?
vowel
That's a big
corresponding
thing in
to
our area,
each
and tourism to
short
come
vowel.
in and catch those fish is
The
huge.
first
They
three long
would want
vowels
to
are
catch
represented
walleye is what they
by
would call
writing
it,
them
which is to
double,
us could be called pickerel.
but each is
Trout
still
fish,
one vowel.
bass,
Each of the first
others.
three has
Those are what people
corresponding
pay
short vowel,
big
so
money
each
to
short
come
vowel
into
is
Canada and go
with a
fishing.
single letter.
Um, and we have
For example,
people who are
ini,
living off the
as
fish they
in
catch, right?
Nina,
A lot of Aboriginal
which means
communities have been fishing
unamin,
for thousands of years, and that's
plate,
a main part of their
them,
diet.
come
And they
here,
go fishing,
you
catch
can
their
hear the
fish,
noun
and then they
sound.
survive off
So
that.
here is an example of
Okay.
basic characters
Um,
chart combined with Roman
it's a
and syllabics.
our ecosystems are complicated, but aquatic
So the
ecosystems are
finals
really
are on the
complicated.
right. The vowels
And
are
fish
across
are
on the top
very
row.
entwined, right, with aquatic
The beginning
ecosystems. That's where
consonant
they live.
sounds are on
And
the
so
left.
we need a wide variety of fish. We need biodiversity of fish
And
in
we are
order
using
to
the
keep
Western
those
finals.
ecosystems healthy. Um, so you can see how fish
And
are an
here is the
important
long
Canadian resource. Okay,
character.
wildlife.
The long
If we look
characters
on page
combined with Roman and
172,
syllabics. The
we can
vowels
see
here, you can
that
see the long
We
on top
have
and the finals
some
on
gentlemen
the right.
playing hand drums. Those are Aboriginal people. This group here is from the Northwest Territories,
And in different
and they're
consonant
playing a
sounds
drum song
combined.
to thank the land for its gifts during a seasonal caribou hunt. And a caribou could provide everything from
Review
food,
on
clothing, shelter, art, works of art. So all of
the
these
vowels.
are
We will do the finals first.
examples of
Jakapehikana, or that's what they
all
are
of these are
called,
examples
Western
of
finals.
ways that they use their
And
wildlife.
these are
We
supposed
have
to
a
be
lot of
small.
wildlife in Canada. We have black bears,
So Western
beetles,
finals, that is how they look.
deer.
The shaded,
We have
or what we have been
falcons,
practicing with.
eagles. We have a variety of animals. And that's one way that we get people to come to our part of the world is for
So the
tourism.
finals are small raised
People will pay money
characters
to go
on
up
the right
to
side of the
northern
syllabic
Manitoba
chart.
to see polar bears.
They are used when you do not
Maybe you'll
hear
be
a
out
complete
in the
sound of a
western part of the
character.
province and
We use
see
two styles of writing
uh,
finals,
Banff
known
National
as
Park and
Western
go
and
see some of
Eastern.
oh, all sorts of wildlife out
So
there.
students will use what
And
they are familiar
we'll
with,
see that there's
or select what they
biodiversity all
use
over
in
Canada,
their community.
and that we can get food,
Here we have examples
and we can get them for tourism, and we can get use wildlife as a
as
resource in many,
them
many
when you
different
can
ways.
see the small
Okay,
raised
so
characters
that
in
wildlife
the
is
word
another
syllabic.
type of resource. So I thought we would pause there for a minute, and I'm just going to go down to our
Ininiimowin.
website, and give me 1 second.
Again, here are the finals.
Gonna go look at some other examples. We have
And
such a rich
it does
wildlife, fish and wildlife. So Canadian fish
value,
resources, let's have a look at those for starters.
and that is the example.
Let's see. And
Syllabic
we're gonna
chart.
just have a look
So
because
keep
we're
practicing
very lucky in
and
our
saying
part of the world, aren't
the
we?
syllabic
To
charts.
have
Once you know how
such
say the
wonderful
Greek
resources
pronunciation, you will start to
that
understand how to read and say the sounds, and
here
that's
we
when you
go.
will know how to speak the
So
language.
we know that fishery
So here, if you look
can
at the
go
example,
from
the bars on
um,
top of the letters are called macrons.
there's some Aboriginal
The
fisheries
12
here.
bars
Let's look at this
represent the
one.
long vowel sounds in the word. Vowel sounds. There are
Okay,
7 vowel
let's
sounds
just
in the Cree Native language in Ininiimowin.
there we go. Okay, so
And
we
they
have
are
Canada's
divided
diverse
into 2 types,
wildlife.
long and short vowels.
And you'll see that there's lots of
And
ways
in
that
this
people
course,
are trying to preserve
I am
wildlife. So let's go through
using
some of these examples here.
the Ininiimowin
All right, so
Cree Dictionary,
um,
and there are many
wildlife
different dialects,
includes
different
large
sounds in the
animals
languages.
like moose,
So
polar bears,
the
grizzly bears,
variation comes from
bison.
Ontario Cree communities,
And there's also
James
in the
Bay, Hudson
oceans,
Bay,
we
and
have
Manitoba.
beluga whales, seals, dolphins.
Dialect
And we have in the
the
Arctic, we
difference
have
in how
muskox,
words are
Arctic
formed and
fox.
spoken
There's all
from a
sorts
language
of different
which belongs
forms
to a
of wildlife.
specific region.
The moose, we have moose. Moose is a type of
There
wildlife
are many
that
dialects
it,
in the
you can
native
go
language. There are
and
differences in dialect
see
or the way people speak,
some of the, you
but
can
the
go
root
look
of
at
the
them, you can
language
go
is
hunt
still
them.
the same.
All parts of the moose can be used.
Noun.
There's
A
bison,
noun is the
which
name of a
I've
person,
eaten place, or
bison,
thing,
thing,
so I know
or
you
an
can eat
idea.
bison. And
person,
you have
family, teacher,
bears. There's
characters,
a
kids,
variety of bears
players,
all over Canada.
animal,
Polar bears,
cat, dog,
grizzly
wolf,
bears, wolves
dog,
and coyotes. Okay, so we have the
place,
larger mammals, which
bank,
can be
beach,
used for
forest,
food and all
school,
the other things that we talked
and
about,
store.
as well as for tourism.
A thing,
We have
air,
marine and
computer,
Arctic
mind,
wildlife. So off the
ants,
coastal
sleep,
waters, we have walruses, dolphins,
idea,
seals, sea turtles,
culture,
whales,
peace, love,
sharks.
sympathy, and
And then
intelligence.
in the Arctic, we have
Here again we
specifically
have
reindeer, polar bears, all the Arctic
examples
animals,
or
Arctic
nouns.
foxes, Arctic hares, and lemmings. And we have so many bird species: snowy owl, woolly ptarmigan, snow
Proper
bunting,
nouns,
Arctic tern. So you can see
specific
that we
names
have
of people,
such a
places, or things.
such a
Example,
variety of wildlife. We're
Elias,
very
Thunder
lucky.
Bay,
You
Pepsi,
can look at
and concrete nouns.
the ultimate wildlife in Canada
For
bucket
things you can
list.
touch,
You can
see,
see here
hear,
we have a
taste, smell.
seal, we
For
have some
example,
puffins in
chair,
Newfoundland,
dog,
right? We have
and
reindeer,
wine.
polar bear, moose. We have narwhals. There's some narwhals at the bottom with
Countable
the horn.
nouns that can be
There's
counted
a
and have
bison.
singular and
Um,
plural
there's
forms.
killer whales, orcas. So you
For
can see that we're
example,
very lucky.
book,
We all of the different types
singular,
of wildlife in
books,
Canada.
or
You'll
plural.
see that this one's got the top things to
Collective
go see in
nouns
wildlife. So polar
for
bears in
groups or
Churchill
collections
is
of
at the top
people,
of the list.
animals, or things.
Narwhals in
For
the Arctic.
example,
It's just taking
team,
a moment to load up. Give it a sec.
family,
And
flock,
then we will come down here.
possessive
Spirit
nouns,
bears. I'm not sure what spirit bears are. Is also known as the ghost bear. It's a rare species of black bear that is born with white fur. Well, there you go. Let's go look and see what is.
nouns that
Oh,
show
there they are there.
ownership or
They
possession. For
kind of
example,
look like a grizzly
Isaac's
with
car,
white
the cat's toy.
white fur. That's kind of cool, isn't it? And up here are narwhals. Those are
Common nouns,
incredible.
general names for people,
Incredible. I'd love to
animal,
see one of
places, or
those.
things.
And there's
Dog,
orcas
city,
off the coast
book,
of British
park.
Columbia. Puffins, there they
Abstract
are there.
nouns
Those are the puffins in Newfoundland and Labrador. Okay, so
for
those are
things
some
you
more
cannot see or
wildlife
touch.
species.
For
There's
example,
humpback
love,
whales in the St.
happiness,
Lawrence
knowledge.
River. There's a group of people going to see the humpback whales.
And
Caribou
uncountable nouns
in Northwest Territories, Yellowknife.
that
Okay, so
nouns
those
that
are
cannot
Inuit
be
people
counted and do not
who live in
have a
that area of
plural
Canada,
form.
and they would also
For
use
example,
not just
water,
for tourism. Okay, so that's
sand,
our list of
information,
wildlife,
respond,
and let's
compound
just
nouns,
go to one more. Let's just do the
compound nouns,
fish in Canada. Let's
formed
go see
by
if we can just see a
combining two
little
or
bit of
more
those.
words.
Here we go.
For example,
Um,
cupcake, football,
Okay, just one sec.
and raincoat.
There we go.
Gender,
So you can,
animate
oops,
and
sorry,
inanimate.
didn't go to the right one. Give me 1 second.
The categories of subject and object are
I'm
not
just trying to find
nearly
my
as
fish.
obvious
There
in
we
the
go.
Ininiimowin
Okay.
language as they are in English.
So,
But it is clear that in this
see
sentence
what
there
we're
are
sharing
two
here
nouns
now.
in
Yep,
some
there's the
kind of
fish. Okay,
relationship
Canada's a
with
wide
the
variety of
verb.
fish. We've already named a few of these.
Nouns
Northern
in the
pike,
Ininiimowin
walleye,
language.
trout, and bass.
Group,
And you'll see that there's some really good
group into
pictures there of
animate
fish.
and inanimate
We're gonna just go to
genders or
this one
classes,
here.
dependent and independent groups. In addition, there are
And you'll
principal
see there
forms,
we've got
that
some of
is,
the
verbs
freshwater
used
fish
as
in Canada
nouns,
here.
but keep
And
some
we'll
of
come
their
down here and
verbal
look at them.
properties
There we
as
go.
well.
We see up in the
In
top
the
left is
Ininiimowin
the
language, we
muskie.
have
There's
two
a
different
northern
ways of
pike,
saying
lake
bring it.
trout, rainbow trout,
To be brought
chain
to you
pickerel,
or
yellow
passed
perch.
to you.
Okay, Those are walleyes way down in the bottom. That's our most famous. Here's some
The
marine
language has a
fish. We've got the
structural
Atlantic
rule.
cod, the Pacific halibut, haddock, Pacific
That divides
cod.
all nouns
Okay, so you'll
into
see those are
classes
some of the
called gender.
Pacific
One
fish.
gender is called animate,
Albacore
which is
tuna,
all
sockeye
living things,
salmon,
and
Atlantic
some
mackerel, Pacific
things
herring,
don't
rainbow
use sleeping
smelt.
for
All
the
of those
sleeping.
are Canadian fish.
And
And
inanimate,
there
non-living
is,
things.
looks, I would say that looks
For
possibly a walleye
example,
there. There's a big school of fish.
here are some
Okie doke. So there's some of the fish. Those are some of
inanimate
the
words
resources that we have here in Canada
listed
for
bin,
fish and
hat,
wildlife. Alrighty, we're gonna go
Okanagan,
back to
cradle board,
our next topic,
Masanahigan, book,
and
a goof,
we're gonna
blanket,
go to forests.
Chigahigan,
Okay, another
axe,
big resource we have in
Baskasigan,
Canada
dam,
is forests. Uh,
Inquagan,
Much of Canada's surface
cut,
is covered in forest. And we
jagged,
know
for coat,
that we make good use of
yes,
those forests.
meat, nippy,
Um, and we know that
Basapahigan,
they cover a large part of Canada and they're an important
Bajamon.
resource. So we can
So
see
those
here
are
that they say they
inanimate.
represent 10% of the world's forests and 30% of the world's boreal forests. And we talked just in the last few days
Animate
about how
is
Canadian forests are called the lungs
a
of the
dam
North because they produce a lot of oxygen.
and
So
gone.
not only are they important for products, they are also important that they are producing oxygen. That's what plants do, right? And so they could be used as a resource as
So
well.
if you were to say
Canada
bring it
exports, remember, sends to
peso
other
or
countries
beta,
forest
for
products.
animate you would
And
say peso.
we were the world's largest
For
exporter.
inanimate
However,
you would say
I'm not
beta.
sure with things going on in the United States if we still are. But
And
we
here
originally
are
did
some
send products to the
examples.
United States, Asia, and Europe. We mostly have softwood
Peso
trees.
panaske.
Those are
Bring the
coniferous,
pan.
right? Trees with needles.
Peso
Pine
atum.
trees, spruce trees,
Bring the
hemlock,
dog.
cedar. Um,
Peso
and that's
taban.
mostly in our part of the world, right?
Bring the
However,
car or
we do have
vehicle.
hardwood trees. Those are trees with leaves. So there's oak trees,
Peso
beech trees,
namukon.
ash,
Bring the
maple,
spoon.
etc. More in the eastern part of Canada and the southern part
Beta.
of Canada.
Betarias.
Hardwood trees also produce
Beta chigahigan.
apples, walnuts, that type of thing.
Bring the axe.
Softwood trees
Beta maskisin.
have
Bring the shoe.
pine cones. And hardwood and
Beta
softwood
atum.
originally came
Bring
from
the
the
blanket.
people who came and were logging in this part of the world. And they based the classification and how hard it was to cut the wood. So they
So,
just are a general grouping of
words
how we
for
group
people,
them,
animals,
but
spirits,
not
trees
everything might
belong to the
fit
animate
perfectly
class.
into those categories.
And
Um,
inanimate is
we can see
non-living
on
things.
page
But there
173
are
at figure
some
7.3,
exceptions.
they have
For
softwood,
example,
mixed wood, and hardwood, and they
spoons,
show you the total areas. You'll
smoking
see the
pipe,
softwoods take up the
pails, or
majority of
animate,
area in Canada, covering
and
almost,
some
and you'll
other
see, this
words.
is
So
a
these
really
words
neat
are
thing
just
to look at. You'll see
examples.
where the softwood trees end. That's
Some
known as the tree
communities
line. And above that, you
is
have what's
also
called
different
tundra. They don't
for
actually have a lot
animate
of trees
and
north of
inanimate.
that tree line. And I have been to areas where there is
Prefixes and
where you go
suffixes.
and there is a tree line and it's
Ininiimowin words
quite
can have a
fascinating.
variety of elements called prefixes and
Okay.
suffixes attached to
Um,
them
so
to
not
signal
only do
different
people come to
meanings.
or not only do we use
For
the forest in
example,
Canada as a resource to be exported or
G-man
to
is
turn into
the
products,
root
it's also
word,
where
the
a lot
basic
of our
word.
biodiversity, most of our
So
biodiversity
if you
comes
add
from
nick
is these
in front of
areas
G-man,
where there is
it would
forest.
become
And
G-man,
2/3 of all species in
which
Canada
is
are
my
related
oat.
to the forest habitats, okay?
So
So
you're adding a prefix,
wildlife fishery, and forest resources are all interconnected. They're all based on each other.
And
And
if
so
you
it's really
add
important when we develop one of these resources that we
G-mana,
keep in mind
G-man
that
is the
they
basic
are
word. G-mana
interconnected,
is more than
and
one,
that we are
which
careful
means two boats.
to take
G-mana.
care of them.
So
Which
you're
brings
adding a
us to water.
suffix at the end of the
9% of Canada is covered by fresh water. Doesn't
which
seem like
is
it
more
seems
than
like more,
one,
doesn't
so
it,
it
in
is
some of the
plural.
areas? But anyway, it's only 9%. We
And
have about
a word can also
25% of
have
the
both
entire world's
prefix and
wetlands.
suffix or
Remember,
more than
wetlands
one
are
prefix or
areas
suffix
where plants and
in the word,
animals,
in the
birds,
basic word.
fish
For
all grow.
example,
Okay, so most of the wetlands in the
G-mananana,
world, or not
our
most of them, I mean
boats.
25% of them
So
are here in
you're
Canada.
adding ne in front
And
of G-man
the Great
and
Lakes
nan,
support
and then
25% of Canadian agriculture. I did not realize that.
So you're adding
When I think of
two
agriculture, I think of the
suffixes,
western
which is
provinces, but
inan
obviously it's
and
quite a bit in the southern Ontario.
Inan
Okay, so we
means
know that there's
and
different types
is
of
more
water.
than
We've
one.
discussed that right in our first
So
unit when we were talking about the three
G-mananana,
spheres. So we know that we can have the surface water, right? And that can be
the
fresh surface water.
prefixes and
Those would be
suffixes
rivers,
taken
lakes,
together
ponds,
are called
rivers.
the inflections of the word.
Aquifers are storehouses
That
of
is
fresh water. They're underground, and groundwater can be pumped out of those areas. That's what we call the water under the ground, right?
So
groundwater.
keep
It says here there's
practicing
more water underground in Canada than above.
the charts.
So
That is how you will start to understand
that's really
how to use
important,
them
and
how to
that
write
if
with
we're
the
putting
charts.
toxins into the ground, into soil, etc.,
So again,
that we are
right there,
careful
when you do
that
the interview,
it's not going to be
project,
where
write the
people are getting
questions
their drinking water
and
out of.
responses
Okay,
in English,
so it's
Roman
always
writing,
really
and
important
syllabics.
to consider what pollutants, what toxins we're putting into the environment and where they're going, not just dumping it and leaving it
So when
for
you
somebody
did
else's
the
problem, right?
family
Biggest
family
concentrations of
exercise,
groundwater are near the top level
practicing
of aquifers, and that's called the
and
water
writing
table.
family
So
members,
go over to page
we
174.
use
We're going to
ne,
look at
which
figure
is why
7.4.
for each family
You'll see
member.
there that this is the percentage of people using groundwater resources. All right,
Nakum,
so you'll see that
the Papa, or Muftawi,
the arrows pointing down, or the triangle pointing downwards,
this
is 0 to 25% of the people.
is
You'll see there's lots of those all over
my
Canada.
father-in-law.
So at least a quarter of the people are using groundwater in most municipalities. 26 to 50%, and you can
The
see the
mama,
really large
Mikawi,
cities, right? It looks
mother,
like
my
Toronto
mother.
over in
Nisikos,
looks like
my
Vancouver.
mother-in-law.
Okay, those areas. 51 to
Nikosis,
75%.
son.
Is there a few spots there? Lots in Quebec.
Ninahakashim,
Quebec seems to be
son-in-law.
the majority of those. And
Nitanis,
starred areas, you'll
daughter.
see some scattered places throughout the prairies, northern Ontario. That 76 to 100% of the water is coming from the groundwater. So that tells us that most Canadians rely on surface water for drinking, but 26% of Canadians rely on aquifers for their drinking water. If you look over at Prince Edward Island, you'll see that aquifers supply all of the drinking water for Prince Edward Island. We also use water, of course, for drinking, not only drinking water and washing our clothes and bathing and all the other things we do, but we also use it for livestock, like cows, crops, watering crops, for our fish farms, and then of course for some of the industries. Remember, mining, we use water in mining. Getting out fossil fuels. Okay, so those are some of the other ways that we use those. All right.
Again, prefix
We
and
are on
suffix
page
to the basic
174.
word.
Here's our first check
The
your
first
understanding
one,
question.
Kimosom.
It's question 1. What is the
Kimosom,
difference between
your
aquaculture
grandfather.
and agriculture? And that's kind of a
Omosoma.
question we've looked at before. It's worth 2
Kimoshoma.
marks. So if you
His
even
or
described
her
one and then
grandfather.
the other that would probably be a good way to answer our question. All right, bottom
Omosomama.
of page 174.
Their
In the textbook,
grandfather.
Non-Renewable Resources in Canada.
Or
So
Omosoma.
we are looking at fossil fuels now, right? That's our biggest one here.
Kikokom.
Fossil fuels
Kikokom.
are oil,
Your
natural
grandmother.
gas, coal, right?
Okoma
Canada
is
has
his
fossil
or her
fuels.
grandmother.
And remember that fossil fuels are from ancient
Okoma
plants and
is
animals
their
under
grandmother.
intense pressure over a very long time,
Kibaba, your
can be
father.
turned into solids, liquids, or
Obaba,
gases that can be used as fuel.
his or her
And we've
father.
already said there's coal, crude oil,
Obaba,
natural gas, bitumen.
their father.
Those are all examples
Kisses,
of fossil
your
fuels.
father-in-law.
Bitumen is a solid or a thick liquid,
Osisa,
and it's what's found in the oil sands of Alberta.
his
The
or
oil
her
sands of Alberta
father-in-law.
is a
Osisa
source of
their
fossil fuel.
father-in-law.
Okay, so if we go to the
Mother,
top of page
Kimama,
175, you'll see
mother,
there, figure
Kimama.
7.5 is
Umama,
oil reserves found in Alberta.
his or her
And it
mother.
was discovered in 1947. It's been around for a long time.
Umamawa,
And it led to a lot of money
their
in
mother.
that part of the world being able to exploit that find there.
Kisikos,
Coal.
your
Canada
mother-in-law.
has 4% of the world's coal resources. Most of them are out
Osikosa,
in Western Canada.
his or her mother-in-law.
But we do have some off the coast of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. So it's another place where you could
their
see
mother-in-law.
some of the oil rigs, right?
Your
Where they're
son.
trying to extract those from the ocean.
Okosisa, his or her
Coal
son.
is still being used in Canada, but we
Okosisa,
know that we're trying
their
to reduce it. In Ontario, it has,
their
we
son.
have stopped using coal. We no longer use coal to
Kitanis.
produce energy for electricity.
Kitanis,
So, however, we still do
your
have
daughter.
coal resources in Canada.
Kitanisa,
The problem with
his
coal,
or
of
her
course,
daughter.
is that when you burn it, it produces a lot of pollution, a lot of greenhouse gases,
Dinosaur,
and it is not healthy for the environment.
their daughter.
Oil and natural gas,
Dinosaur,
and then bitumen, right? The thick solid or thick liquid, is most of Canada's natural resources when it comes to fossil fuels. There's 30,000 oil and gas wells in Canada, and those are on the land and at sea,
uncle,
right?
your uncle.
They're mostly on Crown
Okumisa.
land. That's Crown
His or
land
her
means land
uncle.
that's owned by the
Okumisa.
government. Okay,
Their
and
uncle.
if you look on figure 7.6, it shows where the oil and gas are currently being extracted in Canada. So it says the producing areas, that's the lighter colored shading, potential areas, and then you can see the dark shading out west is the oil sands there, where the oil and gas are being extracted. We are the 7th larger of oil produced in the world, and we export more oil and gas than we bring in. So that's really good because it allows us to be a little bit more independent. Most of it goes to the United States. We talk we'll talk more about that later. I'm not sure what the effect the current political climate's having on that. If we are still, what agreement's still in place for that? There's been a lot of things that have come into play politically in the last little bit, so.
Next is
Okay, there's one other area of natural resources we're gonna, oh, sorry, I forgot, we're on page 176 at the top. And question 1 says list 3 non-renewable energy, non-renewable, we talk so much about non-renewable and renewable energy. Non-renewable resources in Canada. Okay, so that's at the top of page 176.
The Roman writing.
If we look there at the top of page 176 as well, we get to the last resource, the last Canadian resource we're going to discuss today, and that's minerals and metals and mining,
so
right?
Number 1, we will start.
We have over 100 mining communities across Canada. Okay, a mineral is a naturally occurring solid that formed as a result of geological processes. Again, these are things that are found through mining. We have salt mines, diamond, potash, gold mines. We have a lot of different types of mines across Canada. And we've got in the chart on page 176, you can see that they talk about the mineral or metal and where it's found in Canada.
Number 5.
Copper is in Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, and British Columbia. Gold, Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, the Yukon Territory, and British Columbia. Iron ore is in Quebec, Newfoundland, and Labrador. Lead, New Brunswick. Nickel, Ontario, and Manitoba. Most people who have driven through Sudbury know that they have a big nickel there. It's you can tell by the landscape that they've done a lot of strip mining in that area, and it almost looks like you're kind of on the moon in certain areas going through there. Potash, Saskatchewan. If you travel through Saskatchewan, even just on the
so here we are reading the
Trans-Canada Highway, you'll see when you come to the potash area, it looks like it's snow, but it's actually just a white mineral called potash that they use for fertilizers and other things. Salt is mined in Nova Scotia. Uranium in Saskatchewan.
Number 3.
Do you remember what we use uranium for? Yeah, uranium is mined for nuclear fuel. That's what we use to begin a nuclear reaction is uranium. Zinc is found in New Brunswick, Quebec, Ontario, and Manitoba. So these are all minerals and metals that are mined. You can see figure 7.7, the Northwest Territories is becoming famous for its diamonds, and there you go there. This mine, the Diavik diamond mine, is located on an island in Lac de Gras, which is 300 kilometers by air from Yellowknife. We know in our part of the world we have the Ring of Fire, so I thought we could just have a quick look at that.
Bring the blanket.
And let's just have a look at Ring of Fire, Northwestern Ontario. And just get a nice diagram. There we go. So if we look
come inside
there, you'll see the Ring of Fire mining claims right there, and it is way up, right in the middle of Northwestern Ontario. You'll see there's communities all around it there. So that is an area where they are doing a lot of mining. It refers to geographical area.
Or someone who is fluent in the language.
It has discoveries of chromite, nickel, copper, gold, zinc, and palladium. The name Ring of Fire is said to have been coined by Norad Resources founder Richard Nemes at the first discovery. But it says, in fact, the nickname was first suggested by financier Robert Cudney in reference to the Johnny Cash song. There you go. Okay, so we
acknowledgement to the person
know that that a lot of
Remember
people in our area,
to thank the
I'm just going to Musselwhite.
interviewee.
Here's Musselwhite Mine. There's a picture of
Information
it there.
collected for future use and reference. Remember
About
to put
us.
all your work together
So it says our
when you
people.
are done. And a small gift.
There's Mr. Simpson,
Number
the
one,
president.
did you select an elder or person
Ininiimowin.
to interview?
These are
Yes
just
or
all
no?
people who work for
Did you let
Musselwhite.
the interviewee know that you will be
There
recording?
are,
Yes
doesn't
and
really
no.
go
Also,
with any of them. I
remember
was hoping to
to
get some of the more
show them the device you will be using.
First Nation
Is
aspect of
everything
it,
agreeable with
but
that
it is
person?
not. A lot of
Did
the
you set
people
up
who
the
work
time and
there are
place?
First Nation, so that's
Did you identify the
Musselwhite Mine.
interview?
Okay,
Do you
back
have the
to
topic and
our
questions ready? Did you
textbook.
practice the questions in the native language? Do
We
you have a
are
gift
on
ready? Don't forget to say
page
meet Rich before and after
177
the
at the
interview.
bottom of and doing
Number
the
10,
review
do you have
questions
your
now.
recorder ready?
So we'll see there on page 177, we want to do the review questions at
Do
the
you
bottom of
have
the
your
page
writing
there.
materials ready?
Question
So make sure to
5
write
is the
everything
first
down.
review question, and
When
it's
you
an
have the
opinion
checklist
question.
ready, you
It
can
says,
start the
describe
interview.
which of Canada's renewable natural resources
Remember
you
to
think is the
speak
most
clearly
valuable. So just
so you can
renewable,
be
not non-renewable.
heard
And
in
it
the
says,
recording.
why do you think that? So in this particular case, you need to give 2 parts to the question. You need to start by deciding which of the resources is most valuable. So let's just quickly review them. Do you believe the resource is the fisheries, the Canadian fisheries, wildlife in Canada, the forests in Canada, water in Canada? Those are the renewable resources. And
dialogue.
which of those do you think is the
Henry
most
asked
valuable? So explain that for starters.
the
And then
the
why do you
A,
believe
person
that? So
A,
it's an
person
opinion
B,
question.
kay
And to tell you the truth, as long as you come up
So
and you pick
Henry
one of
asked
those
them,
resources
says, Henry,
and
come
then
here.
give me some reason
Kay
why you
Guanuschan,
believe that that
why or
resource
what
is
for?
important, then you will get the 2 marks, okay? All right.
Kay
The
Guan
last
Gagi
question on
Piminayan.
page
What did
177
you
we're
cook?
going to do is explain the differences and similarities
Pinusyaw
between
ergo
bitumen,
patata
coal,
sa
and natural gas. All right,
fish and
so
potatoes.
you want it differences and
Miigwech,
similarities, so a half mark for each. So you want to give 6
gabit na
points, it's worth 3
batatas,
marks. So
more
what's the
potato,
difference between bitumen, coal, and natural
mod
gas?
asengis
Okay,
one.
that's one thing you can put down.
No, I am full.
And then you want to come up with similarities between them.
Dialogue number 2.
And that's worth 3 marks with a half mark for 3 differences and a half mark for 3 similarities, okay? If you can't remember what they are, go back to page 174 and 175.
Yes,
You'll see that there's a lot of information on each of them. Just go through and read those 2 pages and you'll come up with I'm sure you'll come up with some similarities and differences there. Okay, I'm just going to go back for a minute. We're going to go back to the booklet. I just want to show you something here before we finish off.
I will go home later.
Okay.
I will see you tomorrow.
Here we go. Okay, so we're over in lesson 20. So you'll see lesson 20 key questions. Check your understanding questions we've done. Page 174. Page 176 we've done. And the review questions on page 177 we just did. Now you'll notice that there's still more questions. Those are related to the next section of the textbook, okay? So there's
Lipina
still
itakunam.
2 more
Let me
sections
take water.
related to lesson 20. Usually each section of the textbook is related
Aha,
to
juice and
one
mama
lesson,
niti.
but in this
Yes,
particular
juice
lesson,
and
we're putting everything
water.
to do on Canada's natural resources
Next
into one lesson.
Then
So
they thought
our
Sarah.
next
Where
class,
is Sarah?
we will be talking about
Duhunik
methods for
itusteban.
extracting Canada's natural resources. So we've talked
went
a little
here.
bit about this in other lessons where we've
Oklahoma,
talked
Sarah.
about
Is Sarah
how
blind
we don't destroy the 3
out?
spheres,
Mona or Maud
water,
Ukusisa.
air, and
No,
soil,
she was speaking
by
person.
getting the natural resources, whether it's mining or whether it's fishing, hunting, all those types of things. We know that we have to be super careful about how we get those
Key
resources.
question 50.
So
Practice
7.2 is going to take all the resources we just talked about, and we're going to look at how we can try to use those resources without damaging the ecosystem where they're found.
My name is Greg.
So that'll be the
Greg,
second
this is
part
my
of
cousin.
lesson 20.
Where are you from?
And then we have
Sandusky.
one more section of lesson
I'm from
lesson
Solacau.
20, and that is starting over on page
I'm from Big Trout.
186,
Big Trout.
and that's managing
Those
Canada's
tea.
natural resources. We want to make sure
Number
that we
2.
have
What is Sam doing?
our
Can I
resources
do that,
around
Sam?
for a long time. We
Sam
want our
is
future
speaking.
generations
Nepal,
to have these resources
I'm
that
going to
they
the
can
store.
use.
Ataga
But in
mga
order
dito.
to do that, we have to
Bring the
be
banner.
better
Peso
at
ano ko now.
how we get these resources
More bannock.
and
Grab it now, bannock.
and how we're leaving the ecosystem
Peso
after we
ano
get the
ko. Bring a
resources.
spoon.
So we're going to talk a little bit
Me
about
grapes.
how
Thank
we
you.
go in and study
Number 3
areas.
is
We
Carla
talked a lot
dancing.
about that in our
Nemo na, Carla.
biodiversity work, right? We talked about how
Not
we
apo.
can use
No, she's
methods to measure
Kinamagi na.
and
How
sample
about you? Or what about
resources. Biodiversity
Again,
is important,
scan.
and so we have
Later,
a lot of
I am
methods of
working.
going in and checking samples of
Needustam.
ecosystems
Yes,
and
me
seeing
too. I am
if
working.
there's biodiversity in those
I'm going
ecosystems,
to
okay?
eat
So we're
afterward.
going to talk a lot in
The meat
7.3 about the ways that we can continue that
Me
work,
too, and I'm
ways
going
that we
dancing
can get
after.
samples, but
Needustam,
also
Nadia
access the
Mapa,
resources,
and
right?
Doniman.
We need to
And that is
make
all
money
for today.
from
And
resources in order
to
for our country
send in
to
all your work
be
for
able
the
to
communications
support
project.
its citizens.
And if
And
you call at the office, the information
it's
is
important
all on
that
the front
we
page,
do that
and
in
I
a
will
proper way that allows us to keep
respond as
our
soon as
resources
I can. Okay, and that is
useful
it
for
now.
future generations and also to keep